What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today on the channel I have the pleasure of showing you all this 2007 Epiphone Les Paul Custom Zakk Wylde signature Bullseye guitar. And this guitar, as it stands right now, looks pretty great, but this is kind of the aftermath of where I actually got this guitar. When this guitar first came in, it was very rough, and as you're going to see in the next part of this video, it needed a lot of work. So what you're gonna see is basically the whole rebuild process of this guitar. And this video is also gonna show you what you have to do to essentially mod your Epiphone Zakk Wylde Les Paul Custom into the Gibson spec Zakk Wylde guitars, basically from the factory. The Epiphone guitars, when they come from factory, are actually spec'd pretty well, and you don't have to do a ton of work to them to get them to where the Gibsons come from factory in terms of, let's say, general hardware and things like that. But as you're gonna see, this guitar needed a lot of work to actually come back to life. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Let's go over a few things that it really needs. And if you couldn't tell from the clear shot right here that the hardware is pretty worn. That's the main thing with this guitar here. The toggle switch is pretty worn, strap buttons are worn, the bridge and the tailpiece and the posts that hold it all into the body, they are worn and all oxidized out and everything. Top parts of the tuners, they have seen better days. The truss rod cover is okay. It might need a little bit of a cleaning. And the tuner heads actually don't look too bad. What we're gonna see is a total replacement of the bridge here because that is beyond repair in terms of trying to clean it and salvage it. Same with the posts down here, those are too far gone. We're gonna get a new toggle switch in there. And we're going to see what we could do to clean up the gold hardware. Without further ado, let's get right into this. Alright, so this is how you take out the anchors here on a bridge. Very easy. I got a bolt, I got a washer here, and I got a little piece of PVC pipe. I got it from Home Depot for around $5 maybe, and this is a very easy mod that you can do on your guitar and a little bit of an easy hardware swap you can do. One thing you want to do and make sure of is that you have to take the old hardware with you, like take this piece here that adjusts the Tune-O-Matic bridge, and then you size up the threads with another bolt here that you're going to then insert here. I'm going to put a piece of cloth around the Tune-O-Matic post here, just so the plastic on the PVC pipe doesn't really damage the finish. I'm gonna then install it looking like this. Bolt, washer, PVC pipe. I'm gonna start screwing it down by hand just so it's nice and snug in there, because you're essentially gonna be screwing down, and with the downward pressure of the screw in the PVC pipe, it's then gonna pull out that anchor. So I just don't want to damage my finish. I'm gonna put a crescent wrench on the end of it here, and then I'm just gonna slowly tighten it until that bolt eventually comes out. And it is out. It's gonna come out just like that, real simple. All you do, unscrew it, and then repeat the exact same step to the next side and all of the rest of the bolts here. So I'm gonna do all that, and I will see you in a minute when it's all done. And here's the Epiphone Zakk Wylde Les Paul Custom Bullseye, all finished up and all done up. Something that I do want to address is that there's no footage of me wiring up the guitar. It's because I actually tried a couple different times, like maybe 3 or 5 times, to wire this thing up, and generally Wiring is something that comes pretty easy to me, but I was getting no signal from this. I even took it into an experienced tech who's more experienced than me, who's also a guitar builder as well, and they wired it up around 3 or 5 times as well, and we just basically had to change out the entire guts of the guitar and get new pots, new wiring harnesses and everything like that, and now we actually have some signal. A weird thing is that we actually tried putting in EMG X series pickups and everything worked with those because my tech said the EMG 81 and 85 that I had weren't working. I then swapped them out to the EMG 81 and 85 and we have signal again. Sometimes goofy stuff just happens when you're wiring up a guitar, so don't feel discouraged if it doesn't work the first time, and don't feel discouraged that you have to take it in. It's all part of the learning, and it is okay to hand off a guitar or something you're working on to someone who's more experienced on that certain skill than you are, so then you can learn from what they did to help you out. So now let's go over a few specs on this guitar. As I said earlier in the video, this is based on the Norland era Les Paul, so we have a full mahogany body. I believe some of the actual Gibsons had maple tops on them as well. We actually have a nice maple neck on here that is unfinished. Zakk has that on all of his personal guitars, except maybe some of the Dimebag ones. We got the painted headstock. Grover tuners, we have a rosewood fingerboard with 22 nickel frets with the nice big block Les Paul custom inlays. The Gibson variant is going to have an ebony fingerboard. We then have the custom logo, it says Epiphone. We got binding all over the guitar. We also then have the new hardware that I installed, such as the strap locks, the new toggle switch that isn't all corroded out, and the new bridge and the tailpiece and the mounting pins that hold it all together that are not all rusted out as well. And this guitar from factory, when it was still being made, came with the EMG HZ passive pickups, the HZ4s to be specific. Otherwise, Zakk runs EMG 81s and 85s in pretty well everything that he uses. And it goes without saying, we need to thank today's sponsor of this video. This is my good friends at the String Source. This guitar in particular is strung with the Emerald standard set. This is an 11 to 54 set, and it is tuned to D standard, which holds medium tension across the guitar. As I've said before, the String Source is more than just a sponsor. They are a product that I use and stand behind. I have all of my guitars strung up with String Source because all of their packs have balanced string gauge tension. That means all the strings that you have on your guitar, whether it's 6, 7, 8, 9, or even 10 and beyond, however many strings are on the guitar, are all going to be pulling the same amount of tension for that specific tuning that you have. If you want to learn more about the String Source and balanced guitar strings and the benefits of them and why many artists are switching from traditional string sets to balanced sets, click the link below and use the code MRTNTSS for 10% off your next order from the String Source. And this might sound weird, but this is kind of the first Les Paul I've actually spent a good amount of time with, and I've actually had the chance to play this thing a lot, and you're going to hear how it sounds in just a second through a couple different tones, as you normally do on the channel here. But generally speaking, it's different hanging out with a Les Paul. Even though this is a 24 3/4 inch scale, which is a very traditional scale length, it's like my dime guitars. You'd think they'd feel the same, but they do feel very different, especially with the overall design of a Les Paul. It feels a little bit different. It's actually kind of a smaller body, and I'm not the biggest person on earth, but the guitar generally does feel kind of small, and that could be because I'm used to playing MLs and other bigger shapes like that. But compared to other single cut guitars like a Telecaster or something like that, I find those guitars fit my body just a little bit better. It's not saying this is a bad guitar or it's poorly made or anything like that. It's just a different feel that I'm slowly getting used to because, again, I haven't really spent much time with Les Pauls before. Something that I do want to mention as well with a Les Paul is that when you actually have it and you're playing it live, there is a little bit of neck dive. Mind you, this body is weight relieved as well, so that could be in the fact that maybe there's less weight on the body than there is on the neck. The guitar could be a little bit neck heavy because of the weight relief on the body to save your back and your shoulder. But at the end of the day, I'd rather have a lighter guitar than trying to play a 10, 11, or 12 pound Les Paul all night for, you know, a 50-minute set or something like that. That's going to be pretty painful, especially in the long run if you're looking to use a Les Paul as your main guitar for live performance. But with all that being said, let's hear how this Epiphone Zakk Wylde Les Paul Bullseye sounds in a few isolated mixes, going through some heavy, clean, and some lead tones. Here we go. Now obviously, since Zakk has left the Gibson and the Epiphone family, you can't buy these things brand new anymore. Your best method is trying to find these on the used market for a decent price. These are creeping up in value because of supply and demand. Same with the Gibson Zakk Wylde models as well. Those are creeping up in value too because supply and demand, and you can't get those things anymore. If you want to get your hands on a new guitar that is right from Zakk Wylde, obviously the best choice for that is going to be Wylde Audio. That's his own company and partner with Schecter Guitars. Those things are pretty sweet. I'd love to get my hands on one and try a couple of those out and see how they compare to maybe the Epiphone Les Paul Custom, since they're all kind of in the same price point at the current time of filming this video. And that's going to do it for the restoration and the demo of the Epiphone Zakk Wylde Les Paul Custom Bullseye. That's a mouthful to say. Let me know in the comments below of what you want to see next with this guitar here. If you want to see some Zakk Wylde stuff, or maybe if you want to see maybe chasing the Zakk Wylde tone or something like that, I'm all down for that. I love that stuff as well. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It lets me know that I'm doing a good job and you like the things that I make for you. And if this is your first time here, consider subscribing. I have lots of mod projects like this on the channel already. Lots of covers, Pantera, dime bag content as well, or other just rig building and tone chasing videos as well. That's the kind of fun that we have here. Thanks for checking this video, and I'll see you next time.